My name is Tana Turner. I hold a master's degree in sociology. I've worked for all orders of government. And for the past 23 years, I've worked as a consultant helping organizations identify and address inequities in employment and service delivery. My work includes conducting staff census surveys, creating equity strategies, creating strategies to address anti-Black racism, providing training, and developing equity policies and programs. We also conduct social research and program evaluations. The bulk of my work is conducting equity audits. This includes the review of HR policies and practices through an equity lens and assessing organizational culture and work environment through consultations with employees. We provide organizations with an overview of their equity issues and recommendations to support the creation of equitable policies and practices, the diversification of their workforce, and fostering a more inclusive work environment. And let's be clear, there are ongoing issues in Canada's labour market and within organizations that make this work necessary. Indigenous, Black, and racialized people are a growing segment of our population, yet they remain underutilized in the workforce. RBC Economics estimates that if the skills of immigrants were better utilized, it would add $50 billion annually to Canada's GDP. Another study found that Indigenous youth represent an opportunity to add $28 billion annually to the Canadian economy through their labour market participation. This is not just a social problem, it's an economic one. Canada relies on immigration for labour market and population growth, and as a result, the labour market is increasingly racialized. In addition, Indigenous people are one of the fastest growing populations in the country. Canada and individual organizations are losing out on productivity, creativity, and innovation by the continued marginalization of Indigenous, Black, and racialized workers. Indigenous, Black, and racialized workers consistently experience higher unemployment rates, and they earn less than their white counterparts. This happens when the economy is doing well, and they fare far worse when the economy isn't doing well. When we factor in gender, Indigenous, Black, and racialized women experience even greater disparities. And this occurs regardless of their level of education. In fact, Statistics Canada data shows that racialized women need a bachelor's degree or higher in order to earn what men with a high school diploma do. Once hired, Indigenous, Black, and racialized workers continue to face workplace harassment, barriers to advancement, and exclusion from full participation in the workplace. And Canada has a reputation for diversity and inclusion, and in some ways we've earned it. But racism, interpersonal, systemic, and structural, is still embedded in the labour market and in individual organizations. Representation is not enough. True inclusion means equal access to opportunity, advancement, and the ability to thrive and contribute your best to the organization. So what can be done? First, governments have an important role to play in addressing racial inequities. Provincial governments can pass employment equity legislation similar to what exists at the federal level. Governments can also lead by example by addressing the issues within the public service. All orders of government can require equity measures for organizations receiving government contracts. The provincial and federal governments can enforce human rights codes more strongly. And lastly, governments can strengthen anti-racism policies in every jurisdiction. Second, organizations can take a proactive approach. They can conduct staff census surveys and equity audits to understand the issues within their own organizations. They can remove barriers to hiring and enact bias-free approaches to hiring so that people are hired based on their skills and abilities. They can also put in place policies to close gaps in representation so their workforce reflects the communities they serve. And they can ensure staff and managers are trained so they understand their role and their legal obligations under the Human Rights Code in creating equitable, diverse, and inclusive organizations. We must also move away from the idea that equity is just the right thing to do. It's not about charity. It's about making sure the best person for the job isn't overlooked because of race. It's about ensuring that we capitalize on the contributions that newcomers from around the world can make to their new home. It's about ensuring organizations benefit from the productivity, creativity, and innovation that Indigenous, Black, and racialized workers have to offer. So ensuring racial equity isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do.